Hello, this is Craig from bitsbox.co.uk. In this video, I'm just going to talk about my thoughts and opinions about the Age of Sigmar and where I think GW are going with it, why they've done it. I was a bit reluctant to put a video out because so many people have put videos out discussing the Age of Sigmar, but I did want to just throw my opinion out there. I've waited till the actual game is released, so I just get a close-up of the models. I've started putting a few together. I'm working on the Chaos side at the moment, and we'll get into the models a bit later. So here's the box, Age of Sigmar. Of course, Warhammer Fantasy as we know it is no more, and that's a bit sad. I think I was never a massive fantasy player. Anyone who follows the channel knows that all our bat reps have so far just been 40k and Malifaux. But I've always wanted to get into fantasy. But it's another game system. A lot to learn, or at least it was. So when I first heard about Age of Sigmar and the 4-page of rules, I thought, oh, brilliant, really easy to get into. I'll definitely get into it. You can have small little armies. That's great because I ain't got to invest hundreds of pounds on a new army. I can just spend less than 100, get a good little army. So that's great. That aspect of it I really like. So I was really excited for it. And yeah, I know it sucks that the Warhammer world as we know it has vanished. And we sort of, we had the End Time series, so we sort of we knew that was going to happen. And in a way I think it's a good thing. I know it's like 30 years of history just wiped out like that, and yeah, that's, as I said before, that is sad. But it's a shame. It had to happen, I think. Something radical had to happen to fantasy if GW wanted to continue with it. And Age of Sigmar is that. Hopefully, it will be better than the first sort of initial looks at it, which I'll talk about in a minute. The actual Warhammer world itself, it is just that. It was a world. And once you've sort of covered all the continents of the world, all the races, you're sort of restricted. And I think that's the problem GW had. They were very sort of restricted. If they wanted to bring anything out shiny and new, it had to sort of fit in with the races they already had. Whereas Age of Sigmar just sort of opens up a world where you can just go nuts, really, and they can start adding stuff what's more their own IP. Because I think, we all know that, maybe the real reason behind this is, or one of the reasons behind it for sure, is definitely they need some stuff for their own IP. They can't just use generic dwarfs and elves and orcs. They want unique stuff, and we've seen that in Age of Sigmar straight away with the Stormcast Eternals. Now, what I like about Stormcast Eternals is everyone say, well, they're very similar to Space Marines. I think that's the point. That is the point. Space Marines are the poster boys of 40k. You see a Space Marine, you just think 40k. If you know about 40k, of course. I mean, obviously people who haven't seen a Space Marine before might not know what it is, but, when you think 40k, or think Space Marine, they just go together, sort of like a Mickey Mouse and Disney, and sort of Warhammer didn't have that. And you sort of like, you couldn't even say who the main race were. People will argue it's Empire just because they're sort of humans, but they are just humans, and are they that exciting? So, and they've come up with these Stormcast Eternals, big gold armour, massive weapons, and there's potential there for them. I think they're really cool. Yes, they look maybe too similar to Space Marines. Maybe they could have gone a different direction with them. But, they are what they are, and they're gorgeous models. I'll talk about the models, actually. I haven't put them all together. I've still got plenty of screws. I haven't even touched the Stormcast Eternal stuff. I'm just going to work on Chaos to begin with. But they're gorgeous models. They're all on round bases. And from what I've seen of some fantasy models what are now on round bases, GW have had a few photos of some fantasy stuff on round bases. I think they look better. I never liked the whole rank and file movement tray thing because you're very restricted on sort of how to model your models. And as a 40k player, we're sort of big when it comes to conversions. I don't think fantasy was ever. It's hard to say. I mean, obviously people did conversions in fantasy, but maybe not on the same scale they do in 40k. Maybe they were a bit restricted there. And when you got a rank, especially with just your rank and file stuff, because they've all got to just be like that. Even the archers are going to be in that really stiff pose, just so the guy next to him's not being punched in the face or something, and he's not like at an angle because his base won't go in because it's just limbs everywhere. So, you know, on round bases, you can just model them how you like. GW can make more dynamic models, and we've seen that for sure with this box set. Oh, yes, excuse me, my voice is going a bit. So yeah, I'm not too fussed about that. The whole movement tray thing, yeah, it makes it easy to push a lot of models about, but I don't think Age of Sigmar is about massive battles. And I've seen people complain about that. That's fair enough, you know. The epic big fantasy battles, they are cool. But, you know, enough people weren't playing them. People weren't collecting the 5,000 points or whatever it is of fantasy. There just weren't enough people doing it. Whereas now GW is sort of like trying to get more people into a game with smaller armies, and they can always expand it, you know. I think, you know, well, here is the rules. You know, that's not going to be it. I'm sure that there'll be more to this. The rule book, or what we assume is the rule book, went up for pre-order today. Whether that'll have more rules in, maybe. I think they'll definitely expand it. Whether they're going to do that straight away, I don't know. I think if they were going to do it straight away, maybe it would be in this. So yeah, that'll be a sort of, I'll use that as a segue onto the rules. Now, the actual sort of basic rules themselves, yeah, I don't mind. I quite like the battle shock thing. I like how simple the magic phase is. I wish they sort of explained the whole unit coherency a bit more. I mean, I see their reason or their thoughts behind not counting the base, because obviously some people have square bases, some people have round bases, and I think, you know, some people might be getting advantages from one or the other. So you measure from a model, which is alright, but when you got your like 1 inch coherency, people have talked about overlapping bases. Why not just have a rule now that say, make it so bases don't overlap, and make it, you know, if you can't get within that 1 inch because your base is too big, just put the bases side by side. That solves a lot of issues right there. And then there's people talking about, you know, people holding a sword out or a spear out really far to give them advantage, or wings. Why not just say, why can't they just say that weapons and wings don't count? I think that's how I'll house rule it. It'll either be from bases, if we all use round bases, doesn't matter, or just from actual, the actual sort of body of the model, rather than wings or weapons, which might stick out. So we'll play it something like that. Yeah, there will be, of course, Age of Sigmar bat reps coming up on this site in a few weeks. Just quickly, in terms of bat reps, you probably won't see anything until then, because I'm very busy working on the new Bitsbox site, and in the next video I'll go into that. I've got a few screenshots to show off and what to expect from the new site. It's really exciting, actually. I may have not chosen my timing very well, because since I've been designing this new site, we've had Space Marines come out and now Age of Sigmar. But when the new site is up and running, it's going to have a lot of cool stuff on it. So, but anyway, I'll get more into that on the next video. So back to Age of Sigmar. I'll just quick look through rules, see if there's anything else just to talk about. No, I think really, apart from the sort of little problems I've talked about, I'm sort of quite happy with the overall rules. Now, of course, the big thing is there's no points values. I'm not a fan of that at all. And then, yes, I've seen it argued on bolls that, you know, 40k has points values, yeah, it's still not balanced. Well, that's fair enough, but at least, you know, you got some guidelines for building an army. You can't just have some guy just turn up with a massive army just because he's got more money than the other player and he's just going to win because of that. That's just, you know, that's not a game, really. Not in my eyes. So, there's got to be some way of balancing that. I've seen the unofficial PDF what's been out, and actually everything in there I really like, but it's unofficial, so unless GW come up with something like that, then yeah, that's going to annoy me. I'm sure people will find ways to balance it, and I'll probably just use them ways. Even in the PDF, it's not too bad. I've seen other people, like Mini Wargaming did something where they used wounds and attacks and times them together or whatnot to come up with points. Seemed alright, but there's going to be times where it's not going to work. But yeah, definitely when I play it, there'll be some sort of guidelines. Right now, I'll just be using stuff out of a box, so, you know, there's missions in there that tells you what to use and I assume that both sides are pretty balanced, but if Dark Vengeance is going to go on, might not be. But yeah, so I'll probably be doing that. I quite like if you have war scrolls for each model. As long as we don't get into like the stupid rules where you got to prance about like a twat, doing all sorts of things. That really put me off. Like when the war scrolls first came out, I was so excited to see all these updated rules for Warhammer, especially demons, because I've got a 40k demon army. I can just use it in Age of Sigmar. That's fantastic. Anyone who's a demon player can now just play their army in 2 different game systems. That's brilliant. And some of the demon rules are actually quite fun. But I was so excited when these came out. I was looking for demons, looking for dark elves because I like them. Warriors of Chaos because I'm thinking about doing some Warriors of Chaos. And then I sort of found out about some of the stupid rules, and I don't know, my sort of excitement just dipped like that. Just like I'm up here and all of a sudden I'm down there with excitement because I just think RGW taking it seriously, and that's put a lot of people off. And then I read, I think on Balls as well, that these silly rules are ready for the old stuff, sort of like a final hurrah. And yeah, fair enough, I can live with that. I'm probably going to have most of my interest will be in the new stuff, what's coming out. I think there'll be a lot coming out for Age of Sigmar over the next year or 2. I mean, it's here to stay, whether we like it or not. It's going to have at least 4 years, I reckon. That's what I think. It's here to stay. It will get better. If it's terrible, no one's going to play it. GW have to do something, but I don't think it's that bad. And I will just say this, I haven't played a game of it. And yeah, like most people on the internet, I'm ranting about something I haven't even tried. But I've seen games, I've watched bat reps, I've seen people play it, install. It's so easy to pick up, which is great. Even my girlfriend said that she will try it with me, and believe me, that is quite an achievement. So, you pick up a 40k rule book, you are going to be put off, but you pick up this, and that's all your rules. You're going to want to try it, and I think that's great for people who want to get their children into it or their spouses into it. That's brilliant, that is good. And yeah, the game seems quite simple. There's going to be ways to break it, of course, but I don't think it's like some people say there's not enough tactics to it. I think maybe not, but there's enough, I think, to make games interesting. Like, every game's not going to be the same. I mean, when you play a game with dice, you got that taken into effect as well, so it's an interesting little game. It still feels like a GW game, to me at least. The basics are the same, the move, shoot, assault things, they're all the same. Assault is very similar to 40k, because obviously you have your 2d6 charge distance and everything. Obviously there's still some fantasy elements in there. Like I say, I've never really played fantasy, but I know some of the basic rules of it, and some of them in there, like how you set up and stuff like that. I'm not too keen on rolling off each turn, see who goes first. That, just alternate like you do in 40k, I much prefer that, but other games play that way as well. So, it's not going to break the game. At sometimes if a game's going bad for you, and you've just had a turn, your opponent just had a turn and now another turn, yeah, that's no fun, but that's just how it is, I suppose. So I've touched on it briefly, but I want to talk about why I think Age of Sigmar has happened. As I said before, not enough people are playing fantasy, and it's a hard game to get into because you need a large army. There's a lot of rules, and like, Age of Sigmar is like the opposite of that. And I've seen so many comments, and I share the opinion as well that GW do need like an entry level game where you just pick up the rules really easily, just get you. Something will get you into miniature wargaming, let alone GW products, but just something gets you into that. And I think other companies do that really well. You look at Privateer Press and Weird, very easy games to get into. And I think GW have they realise that maybe in the 21st century you need to do that. Because I read a great comment where someone said Age of Sigmar is like a 21st century game. It was like first 21st century game what GW have done. Whereas maybe before they're sort of behind a little bit in that sort of sense. You want something more easy to pick up, and Age of Sigmar certainly is that. Small army, you can just throw 100 quid down or less than 100 quid, and you're in basically. That's great. So they've listened, I think, because a lot of people are saying like GW needed an entry level game, and a lot of people, you know, when they say that, what they mean is like they should bring back Blood Bowl or Mordheim, which yes they should, but you know they've decided not to do that and actually make one of their core games sort of easy to get into, and that's great because you can you'll be able to scale it up if they bring out expanded rules, how to scale up, which is rumored. Then that's fantastic, I think. So there's that. And another thing I mentioned earlier is the IP. We've already seen like races are sort of getting name changes, like the Orcs, for example, and have been listed on the site as Aurochs. I think in time everything will either be reboxed or replaced using these new names. They might have a slightly different look to them as well, I think will happen. If they were to bring out new Orcs or Aurochs, I think they'll look slightly different. They'll look better, I'm sure of it. I mean, if these models are anything to go by, they'll look better because these are fantastic. For £75 what you get in this box is just really good. The amount of detail, it's fantastic. I did see a comment that someone said like GW are making even more sort of high detailed plastics just to stay ahead of the 3D sort of printing, sort of I don't know, word to suggest really where. But you know what I mean, the fret, 3D printing fret I think is the word I'm looking for. Personally I don't think 3D printing is going to hurt GW too much for a while. So I think they're alright because there's a high level of detail on their models. They are brilliant, and to be honest, you know, I couldn't be bothered to 3D print a whole army. I certainly couldn't be bothered to just download a PDF and print out all the pages instead of just buying a codex or something, you know. So, and of course, there's a sort of long way to go before everyone's got 3D printers in their house and being able to print off models, especially of this quality. So I don't think they've got to worry about that. But you know, GW are a big company. I know everyone says that they're always failing because their finances are dipping slightly, but they're still making profit in the millions, which is great. I wish I was. You know, if that's what being a failing company means, then yeah, I'd love that. But you know, they're still head and shoulders above a lot of them, and you know, some people might not agree with that. That's fair enough. You know, I look at Malifaux miniatures. I think they're beautiful, but I still think what GW do is better. But it takes nothing away from Weird because I love Malifaux models. It's so pretty. So and then another thing which I haven't even mentioned is that they've released all the rules for free, and there's an app coming, which is just fantastic. Recently, Mantic have released their Kings of War rules for free, which I'm sure people who are sort of really angry with Age of Sigmar might be moving over to, which is great. But that's another great move from GW, just to bring out rules for free. I do believe we'll see hard copies as well. You know, there are people out there, myself included, who does like to have a book now and then. 40k wise, I'd like to collect all the codexes, but I certainly won't do it in Age of Sigmar if they were to do hard copies of everything. But I think that's still nice. The app I think is going to be fantastic, just because the PDFs what they've released are great, but if you got to scroll through them to find units and you're jumping from unit to unit, especially early on as you don't know the rules off by heart, they're a bit of a pain. But to have an app where you can click on each different unit and navigate really easily, I'm really looking forward to that. That's going to be great. So that's a great move from GW, and they've clearly invested a lot of time and money into this. So it is a big roll of the dice. That much is true. But I think in the long run it's going to pay off. There's been a lot of hate. There's been a lot of positivity as well. And only time will really tell if this is successful or not. You know, my opinion or your opinion, you know, might not matter. Of course, if enough people don't like it, then their opinion will matter, but I think it's still very 50-50, and I think there'll be enough people buying it to make it, or at least semi-successful, definitely. A lot of 40k players like myself will probably dabble in it. You know, 75 quid for this box. What you get in it, I think is great value. I think a lot of people will be picking it up. Whether they go further than that, who knows? I don't even know if I'll go further than that myself. But I have a funny feeling I probably will eventually. But, you know, if GW can just get a few, quite a few players into this game, then I think they're onto a winner. And there's so much they can do with it now. They're not restricted to this little Warhammer world. They've got all these different realms and they can just go nuts now, and they can sort of appeal to more people if they want to. Whereas they're sort of restricted before, so yeah, I think it will be a success. Maybe not a massive success, but enough of a success that it will be better than what Fantasy was before, success-wise. But I don't think it'll be as successful as 40k. But who knows? We just don't know. So that's just a few of my thoughts on the Age of Sigmar. If you agree or disagree or have any other further comments to add, please leave them below. I'd love to hear what you guys think. So, fingers crossed that GW take it in the right direction. We end up with a great game, which might even rival 40k. So, I shall see you in the next video.